was announced that Reggie from Nintendo America is stepping down, and somebody new is taking over. His name is Doug Bowser. So the jokes have been coming fast and loose this past week on that one.
Yeah, especially if he starts just taking down stuff and kidnapping people, then all bets are off. See, I have to get my own jokes in there. How else am I going to survive?
Yeah. I still say it would have been like fourth dimensional chess if his name was Dog Waluigi. That would have destroyed the internet for at least like 4 hours.
I feel like some people should just start naming their kids Waluigi. That would make me happy and sad for the kid, but just happy in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, somewhere there's a kid named like Doug Robotnik who's now like, oh, I've got it now. I know what I like, right? Like,
yeah. I think the best part is it just seems like the perfect master plan for like taking over. What's your name? Doug Bowser. Okay, well you'll work at Nintendo and you'll become the head.
But I just want to bowl. That's all he says. I just want to be a pro bowler.
Nope, you're working at Nintendo.
He's a huge force in the marketing and presentation, and obviously that comes with it. Like you have to deal with not just gamers and gaming media, but also like Best Buy and the global purchaser for such and such retailer, right? Like. So he's got to be successful there as well, but Nintendo of America is like a subsidiary of like the Japanese company, and so he's in charge of the subsidiary, which is obviously big. Like I don't know who that guy really is on the hierarchy of how does that company operate day to day. That's what I was never clear on. Of course, it seems like I'm implying that like he just does commercials and stuff. That's not at all it. But like, I don't understand as a gamer outside of commercials and fun free stuff. Like, what did you do that made Mario Odyssey good? Right? Like, where's Reggie's input in Smash? Like and again, not to minimize. I'm sure that. Brand synergies are up across the board under Reggie, but like, what does he mean to me as a gamer? Outside of his lovable charisma at E3 trade shows, right?
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say that's always been a very interesting point about the game industry. That again, so many consumers don't really know or even really give information about what actually goes on at a game studio. I mean, you can watch as many documentaries as you want, on studios, but that's not really like studio life. Like, we really don't know, like, what exactly happens. And again, like, Nintendo, Valve, and Blizzard are probably like the big three. No information, and then games just magically appear, or a big announcement just appears out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on that same page. Like, and this is my limited visibility into Nintendo as a whole. But like, when I do see people like that, I do wonder. I do wonder what did he do behind the scenes? Because I read it and I'm like, well, I'm kind of ignorant as to who this person is. But obviously, he is beloved by the people. But yeah, what does he do? I mean, obviously, he is that front man. But that is a good question, Josh. It's like what. Shrug here, but congratulations on being beloved, and I'm sure you did a great job. But all right, what shoes are there to fill? What do those shoes entail?
But still, it's going to be very interesting to see how Nintendo kind of transitions. I mean, again, they unfortunately lost Satoru Iwata. I think that was back in 2016. A new person took over whose name I don't remember, and then Reggie stepping down. I mean, Nintendo, I think the one thing Nintendo has done, I think, really well compared to the other two platforms has been kind of like having that public persona. Again, the Nintendo Directs, whenever Reggie comes on the stage and things like that. So it's going to be interesting just to see like how they look, I guess, moving forward. And that's always like, and this goes back to a topic we've talked about before as to, who becomes like the brand of a studio? Do we think of it as just the employees, or do we think of it as, the name of the studio? Because again, we brought up like Call of Duty. Again, everybody knows Call of Duty, but how many people know, who's the lead designer on a Call of Duty game? Who was the person who did network testing or the art or anything like that?
I agree. Nintendo has done a good job of kind of surfacing their personas on the design team. I think in Western game design, that's the best example is Blizzard through like BlizzCon, right? And you really get to know the names and faces of who's on the art team and who's on the server team and who designs the raids and who designs the weapons, right? The problem that arises out of that, I think, is that what Rob, you mentioned is like you're involved in one piece of the design and have no connection to the marketing of the game. For example, who am I going to talk to if I have a disagreement about the marketing? Whoever marketing is, or you, right? Like, because now I've got your name, I know your face. Like, you make this game, right? Like, anything I don't like is your fault. You made that decision. Or there's some guy from like 2K Publishing with a gun to your head, like, you must do this because it'll make us $1 million, right? Like.
And like with that level of marketing or with that level of clout, as you said, like it comes back. Like I know companies love to have someone become like that major figure, like Sid Meier, Jake Solomon. But then you were like, as you said, Josh, you run an issue like what happens when that person says something that either gets people upset or
Peter Molyneux.
I'm sorry,
Peter Molyneux,
yeah.
kind of, or Todd Howard level. Our game has infinite quests, and yeah, what? Yeah, Rob. What happens when you say something?
Oh well, I mean, I generally don't. I mean, if any, it's just like let me. I do feel like I have to, or else if someone from 2K sees it, my opinions do not represent those of 2K or Visual Concepts or Take-Two or anybody. So, when I have problems, it's just like any business. I go directly to my superior and I say, "Hey, man, I don't know about this is a problem I'm having. What can you do?" And he'll be like, "Shrug. I mean, I can talk to someone, but this is not that big of a deal. I'll save my battles for another day," kind of thing. And so, it's just your typical business structure. Us peons, even as high up as you may think. I mean, my title is producer, but that does not I am just a cog in the machine. So it's my opinion matters sometimes, and it matters very little other times. And so it's just that way. Middle management is my cup of tea. That's what it's what I've been most of my career.
A player you're never, no matter how many BlizzCon panels you're on or YouTube Q&A AMAs kind of thing you do, like there's no amount of that is going to sink into a player when it comes time to complain about falling through the world or where's my missing VC, right? Like, and that's where that double-edged sword of, you as a player, I want the developer out there, but as a developer, do you want to be out there? Right?
Yeah, I mean, and that is the beauty of the indie side of things. I mean, having worked with guys who are the project 100%, maybe they hire out the music or maybe they hire out some art, but they're it, and they interact directly with fans, and so there exactly who to complain to, and you generally know exactly where to complain. So because if they're on a forum, well, I mean, you've got their attention. So there is that huge, and what is the benefits? What are the pros and cons of those things? For the developer, the cons are that yes, you have to answer to everything. But for the fan, the pros can be, I mean, the pros of being an indie fan are you can impact the game design for a AAA company. Very unlikely unless there's a lawsuit involved.
And again, getting back to our to the main topic here, it's very hard, as you were saying earlier, Josh, about what it means to become that face of a company. Again, I think Reggie probably handled things almost brilliantly. Again, I think he came obviously from a background in marketing, so he knew how to put himself out there from a marketing point of view, and that in of itself, I think, is hard for a lot of people. And again, like for us three here, we're chatting live on the internet right now, but like it can become very daunting if there's like 500 or 1,000 people watching your every move, and then compound that if you're on Twitter or Facebook, or you make an Instagram post and all of a sudden you get 300,000 views on it.
And to that end, maybe he's just that. Maybe he's the figurehead that he's like, okay, I'm the guy. There's all these people that are working on various things. We represent a million different IP as well as third-party projects and a console and a series of consoles and all that stuff. And he's just like, well, I'm the target. Everyone who has complaints, send them to me, and I might even personally respond. That kind of thing. And that allows the developers and the programmers and the designers and stuff a little bit more, flexibility in terms of doing things and even making mistakes. So that he's the guy who can take the heat, and if heat is taken, can distribute it amongst the people in the specific areas. So that is a very valuable asset, I would think.
Yeah, it sounds like very simple, like when you're able to talk to someone and have a carry conversation, but it still is a very hard, I think, skill for a lot of people to pick up. Like for people who watch me, obviously we've interviewed many developers, either live and through these audio casts, and you can hear like the difference between someone who either does this for a living, who has been on multiple casts, and people who haven't. And I'm sure for the longtime fans watching, I mean, I'm sure you guys have picked up many times over when I'm talking to somebody who's never like been on a podcast, or who's never even like had a chance to really talk about this stuff. And that is perfectly fine. Again, you don't get into the game industry to make public speeches and to, make 10-minute Instagram videos on a day-to-day basis. And I think it is important to have somebody who understands marketing. Sometimes you get lucky and it's a developer, or, somebody on the design team. Again, like Devolver has been really good at this, but sometimes you just don't have that skill, and unfortunately it has come back to bite a few developers. We saw, of course, Phil Fish kind of melting on Twitter from a few years ago, or what happens, like going back to what we were saying earlier, with having, when you have that title like on you and you talk, a lot of people will assume that you're talking as part of that company. And like we all remember the whole Amanda Price incident with ArenaNet from earlier in 2018. And there are developers out there who are very vitriolic when they talk. I know famously, I think his name was Hideki Kamiya. I think I'm butchering his name. The developer I think he runs Platinum Games. Like, he is notorious for just, he will tell you to go F yourself if you see something he doesn't like on Twitter, and he'll just ban you or block you right there. And, like, nobody says a word about him. But that's, like, how he responds. Or then, as a complete 180, we have someone like Yoko Taro, the Nier Automata developer, who is either, like, a brilliant madman or, like, a maddening genius in terms of what he does with his marketing and such.
Both.
But like it's been the beauty about the independent game scene. Like we mentioned this earlier, that when you're dealing with a company of 3 to 8 people or 3 to 10, you can literally talk to the person who's been building this game. I mean, that's kind of how things have grown with me with Game Wisdom. Like when I talk to a developer from an independent studio about game design, I'm literally talking to the man or woman who's putting that together. And you can have those conversations. If you're looking for a book on design, my first title, 20 Essential Games to Study, is out now. It is available where most books are sold, and it comes in paper, hardcover, or digital copies. This is the perfect book for anyone interested in learning about game design, whether you are a student, enthusiast, or just a fan. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoy things, be sure to do all the liking and subscribing that the kids are doing these days. Check out our Discord channel link down below where we hang out and chat game design, and come back later tonight for our regular streamings. But that's it, and tune in for more great content here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games.